We are talking with a very highly acclaimed former investigative reporter and journalist, now an independent writer and commentator with jihadwatch.org and robertspencer.org. Her name is Christine Douglas Williams. She is a resident and citizen of Canada, and we're talking about what has been happening in her country and what it portends for the rest of us. Christine, we were visiting a little bit about some other places, notably New Zealand, which was uh, the topic of conversation in the White House this week, with the Prime Minister ballyhooed by Joe Biden, I should say, for her crackdowns on guns in her country. The Australians have done the same, of course, and it 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 raises a question which you were just getting to about what are the implications for civil society if the ultimate check on the abuse of power by the government is surgically removed, in effect, with these so-called gun bans. Not, of course, on unlawful holders of such weapons, crime syndicates and individuals, of course, but but the law-abiding ones will certainly be disarmed. And again, where does that leave a country like Canada, do you think?
It's a boon, Frank, for the criminal element in
Mm.
Canada. The underground market is full of weapons. A lot of people don't realize that in Canada, we also have a two-tier legal system where and this is one of these no-go zones where the Aboriginal communities, these different areas. And I'm going to say this that 75% of natives do not live on native reserves. That needs to be said. They've left the reserve, they've made a productive life for themselves. But as usual, you've got the people like Trudeau and Biden, they like to reference the disadvantage as if they care when they really don't care. So a lot of the weapons that even come through the United States into Canada, they're hidden on many of these reserves. They have stashes there, and they're not regulated by the law like other places are in Canada. They have a different system where police cannot enter these reserves as they would, let's say, a household in Canada. So a lot of weapons are being stored on these reserves. Weapons are coming in left, right, and center. I mean, look at your southern border. Look what's coming in there. And it won't stay there. It will make its way through America, and it will come right through Canada. And while these leaders are telling you that they care about their citizens, they don't care. They don't care about anything about safety, about the economy. They really do not care. They manipulate and they use disadvantaged societies.
Right. And it's about power at the end of the day, and exercising it, controlling it, ensuring nobody else gets it, I think. Um, let's talk quickly about Hungary. You've recently written a piece for robertspencer.org about, well, the newly reelected government there and the stance that it is taking on so many of these issues that really stands in increasingly striking contrast to what's happening in the Anglosphere, as it's called, and elsewhere in the European Union as well.
Now, I am impressed with Hungary. I know they get called all kinds of names like racist, but it's worthwhile saying that while everybody turns a blind eye on Christian persecution, the Hungarian government, together with the former Trump administration, were spending millions of dollars to help the persecuted Christians in the Middle East.
Amen.
And they're not white. So trying to cause more division and say, oh, it's Trump, it's Hungary against visible minorities is just simply not true. Hungary has taken a stand. They want to protect their Christian constitution. And this is something that people need to take note of. That Christian constitution is there to protect the citizens of that country. They have said no to open door migration, not all migration, because they are taking in some Ukrainians.
Mm-hmm.
However, it has nothing to do with racism. It has everything to do with the ideologies and the vetting process of those coming into the country. And that is very important. Now, Hungary has paid a big price for this because going back to the days, for example, when Beata Szydlo was the head of Poland, those two countries stood up strong against the EU Commission, who was dragging them to court, punishing them, trying to get the other EU member nations to crack down on them. And Hungary stood up and said, look, We are going to be true to our people. We're going to stand up for our sovereignty. We're going to stand up for our constitution. And that is what that country is doing. Lately, we also see another phenomenon that's taking place: transgender lunacy. Now, if an adult decides that another identity suits them, that's an adult. Even under people who believe in scriptural tenets, they have free will. But bringing this as a curriculum to corrupt children, to mess with their psychology at a very vulnerable time when they are teenagers and their hormones are raging, they doubt themselves, to kind of usher them into this in the school curriculum, that government has said no. They are standing up to common sense values and protecting its public. How we wish we can boast about the same with pride with the North American continent.
Yes, at the moment, that seems not to be the case, does it? I think that Viktor Orban is, as you say, the object of considerable criticism in Europe and on the world stage, for that matter. But what he is doing to stand up for sovereignty and for the integrity of his country and the best interests of its people should be a model for all of us. Uh, the question, I guess, I wanted to just close with you, Christine Douglas Williams, is given what you are witnessing and experiencing yourself in your native Canada, what you're seeing elsewhere in the West, including here in the United States, for that matter, whether it's as a result of these, you know, vaccine mandates, the vaccine passports to enforce the mandates, whether it's uh, the surrender of our sovereignty to the World Health Organization, whether it's the efforts to restrict our First, or for that matter, Second Amendment freedoms. Would you counsel that the American people learn from what you're experiencing north of that border, and not only take, you know, heart from what we're seeing in Hungary, but follow that model rather than the one Justin Trudeau and some of these other Anglosphere leaders are pursuing?
Absolutely. I would go so far, and I know it sounds a bit dramatic as to say, be afraid, be very afraid,
Mm.
because we are in a process right now of losing our freedoms here in Canada, slowly but surely. The biggest hope is that another government will come in and reverse these kinds of decisions, these crazy decisions we see coming in. But Americans need to look to the North to as an example of what not to be. You have your own problems, I realize, in America, but we are more advanced along the road toward totalitarianism than America is, because we don't have certain rights that are enshrined in the Constitution, like the right to bear arms, like the right to free speech. You have more of a basis to fight with when it comes to truth. Canada is all over the map. Yes, it has certain laws that protect citizens, but you also have these kangaroo courts. But when I look at America and I see the pattern that's happening there, and I see the Democrats and the politicians that are along those lines, you're in danger too.
Mm.
So look to Canada, because what we saw with this truck convoy, this freedom convoy, this represented the emergency situation that Canada is in right now, where it is losing its freedoms and it is under siege. The next step has been taken to ban handguns. No one could sell or buy handguns as of now. Those who have handguns can keep them, provided that you don't have any record of domestic violence, which sounds reasonable, of course. But Canada also has a system that if you register a weapon, you are properly vetted. It is not easy to get a weapon in Canada. So the question should be, well, why are they doing this? What about knives? You look at the UK, it's through the roof: attacks with knives and murder with knives. But
Mhm.
nobody talks about that.
No.
It's because Trudeau wants to disarm Canada.
Yeah. This is such an important clarion call. Let's not go there, I think, is the bottom line. Christine Douglas Williams, thank you so much for
Thank
sounding
you.
that alarm with us, and I hope you'll come back to us with updates. We'll talk with Colonel Grant Newsom, United States Marine Corps retired, next about China and more. Straight ahead.